which are subsequently worked out 3 young male or juvenile bottlenose dolphins. And significantly, with it being the Easter weekend, the church was playing quite loud organ music, which you can hear easily across the bay. And these dolphins were only about 30-40 metres away. And it certainly appeared to me, and a small group of people had gathered to watch them, that they were dancing to the music, or at least breaching, because when the music stopped, they would stop. And then when the music started again, they started breaching again. So there was clearly some kind of interaction, some kind of reaction to that sound. And it captured my imagination, firstly because I didn't know we had these dolphins in our waters, and I certainly had never seen them so close to shore. So that, together with the reports we had from local fishermen, we established that it was bottlenose dolphins that we were seeing, and more sightings closer to shore. I then met a postgraduate student by the name of Connor Ainsley. He was doing his MSc in Wildlife Management Studies at Newcastle University, and was based at the CRRU in Aberdeen as a research assistant. And his thesis was to catalogue the bottlenose dolphins that we were spotting off the Northumberland coastline, to establish their identity and possible origins. And he has been a terrific asset in producing the catalogue that became a gold reference standard to identifying the bottlenose dolphins that we've worked out belong to the Moray Firth group originally, from the east coast of Scotland. The story continues. We know these animals have been ranging up and down our coastline now for at least the last decade in increasing numbers. We can spot them all year round. It used to be a seasonal event. We know they've been breeding. Several calf dolphins have now been identified with their mothers, and there's even the possibility that we've got indigenous dolphins now, Geordie dolphins if you like, a subgroup that are formed off the Northumberland coast. And sometimes we can see them in groups of anything up to 100 or more. That's happened and they seem to have a get together once or twice a year. But typically the pods range anything between about, say, half a dozen to maybe 30 in any one observation. So this is what Connor was able to establish. The Moray Firth at the top within the circle was the inner Firth, was the source of the dolphins originally, maybe 25 to 30 years ago. They migrated to the outer Firth area, and then to the Grampian Fife region, and then gradually south to the Northumberland and Durham coastline. And we know now that they're ranging as far south as Yorkshire. So it's a dynamic situation. Different reasons have been put forward. Possibly the population in the Moray Firth just got too big. We do know that the first bottlenose dolphins were older dolphins, perhaps past the breeding stage, and maybe just looking for somewhere to retire. And then the younger dolphins of the breeding capability basically found out they were onto a good thing, certainly in terms of food sources. And that may have been one of the other drivers, that needed to find new territory, to find new food sources as well. So just to summarise that, my first exposure at the bottlenose dolphins was in the Little Bay in 2007. I started researching the topic, initially touring the coastline to see if I could spot any more. I started making informal records by 2009, and then picked up on these reports from fishermen. For example, in 2014, over 100 bottlenose dolphins were sighted with the Forever Autumn yacht off the River Tyne. We'd also been observing white-beaked dolphins recorded at Newbiggin Bay, and that there was an increase in sightings typically between April and September. As I said earlier, it was more a hobby to begin with, and I had actually set up a Facebook group with some friends to record what we were seeing and generate some photographs and videos. Subsequently, that group has grown, and we now have a membership of over 5,000, and we've obtained endorsements from the likes of Sea-Watch Foundation for the quality of the data that we record. And that was actually in 2014 was my first contact with Dr. Berggren. I seem to remember I'd asked him if he had any idea what was going on with these dolphins. I'm sure he can talk with much more expertise on that whole aspect. Some interesting aspects of the local industry. Blyth, just to the south of us, is a major centre for renewable energy and the development of offshore wind turbines. And we have a pioneering farm that was installed a couple of years ago. And I know that Dr. Berggren and the university team got involved in the marine mammal monitoring aspects of that using hydrophones, and that's become an ongoing project which we hope to be involved in again in 2020. By 2017 we were recording dolphins all year round, predominantly the summer months, but more and more sightings recorded during the winter period as well. And increasing sizes of pods with lots of human interactions. We've got lots of videography, which you can see on my Facebook group page, where the dolphins choose to interact with boats and with kayakers and with ferries, and they will come very, very close to shore, in fact as close as rocks will allow. And that's one of the things about Newbiggin Bay that's different to other parts of the coastline. They do seem to be attracted to feed here, and they'll often congregate in and around the mouth of the Wansbeck, Camas Beach, or head towards our bay, and we can see them, literally look into their eyes as they swim past either Spittle Point or Church Point and Newbiggin Point. The presence of the dolphins offers several opportunities for ongoing research, and this again is the reason, or one of the main reasons, that we monitor and record them, because there's an opportunity here to study wild dolphins, bottlenose dolphins, up close and personal, and particularly what happens with the calf dolphins essentially from day one. We'll be able to monitor them as the years go by. Some do's and don'ts. Well, when I first started observing the dolphins, I thought I could just track them up and down the coastline. It was virtually an impossible task. They can appear and disappear at will. They have their own agenda. Bear in mind, these are totally wild animals. They're not just going to turn up when I want them to. So what I realised was I needed to have a single location, or perhaps one or two locations, where I would go, and that would be where I would be based for a period of time, to see if I could spot them and monitor them. I quickly realised it was helpful to have lots of sets of eyes, and so I enlisted help from the likes of dog walkers and beachcombers who were out every day, come rain or shine, summer, winter, and just recorded basic information like numbers, time, distance offshore, direction of travel, and any obvious behaviours. In addition to that, I got involved in conducting an annual survey for Sea-Watch Foundation and what's called the Big Watch Weekend. These were public events, essentially to get the message out it was usually during the school summer holidays, so it was a family orientated activity, fun activity for the children as well. Facebook offers some social media aspects which are very useful for coordinating a network of observers. So we have people up and down the coastline now who can report in a sighting, and then that gives us advance notice of where the dolphins might appear next. So for example, we can advise people if we want to come and see them, when is going to be a good time and a good location. As I mentioned earlier, I've been working on a project called Dolphin Cam, which ultimately will be to monitor the bay on a 24/7 basis using live stream capabilities through the internet. We're still working on some of the technical aspects of this, but the idea is to be able to bring the dolphins into people's homes. One of the social aspects of the association is to help people see these dolphins when otherwise they can't get to the beach or to the observation areas. Could be because of health problems, disabilities, their own lifestyle routine. But there's I think a terrific value in being able to do that. So that's one of our projects that we're working on currently. We had planned to introduce it last year. Various reasons that wasn't possible, but I'm confident that we will get there sometime later this year. The association has also embarked on a programme of formal monthly watches to which we invite people at Church Point, usually on a Saturday. I'll offer this invitation out to you all now, although of course we have to wait until we get over this virus problem. But during the course of the summer period, just as an example, last year we had 6 public monthly watches, and at every watch we had either dolphins, porpoises and or seals for people to come and see. So a very worthwhile activity, and of course it gives us a chance to record more data as well. In the course of my studies, I've established 6 observation areas. I've already mentioned Spittal Point, Newbiggin Point, Church Point and Newbiggin. There's Beacon Point, which is the next peninsula to the north, and then Snab Point, which is a couple of miles to the north of Cresswell. To the south, the River Wansbeck Estuary and Camas Beach, and then the River Blythe Estuary and the offshore wind farm in that area. And within the bay itself, there are locations which, depending on the circumstances, offer advantages to spotting and recording our dolphins. So Newbiggin Point, Church Point, but also Beach Terrace, north and south, and then Spittal Point, each have a different elevation and proximity. Ideally you want to be as close to the dolphins as possible. But you also want some elevation to see over the wave crests, because the sea conditions aren't always flat and calm the way we want them to be. So I've been doing this research now, it's actually 13 years, and the question I ask myself is, Newbiggin a hotspot for dolphin and porpoise sightings? Are we unique or special compared with other areas of the coastline or areas of the country? Well, at this stage I think there's more research needs to be done, but what we are seeing are dynamic changes in marine life. It's not a static situation, and it's influenced by several factors. But as far as the dolphins are concerned, we think they've found a new territory in which they are the bosses basically. There's no other predators, and they've got access to good food supplies. Very little in the way of competition, and shallow waters, relatively safe from a breeding point of view. And as I mentioned earlier, they have a particular liking for salmon, although they will eat other kinds of oily fish and animals like squid. Just a couple of other aspects to think about. Clean water. European Union legislation was introduced back in 2011 on sewage outflows, and this has had a significant effect on the waters in and around Newbiggin, where it used to be heavily contaminated with raw sewage. Now the sewage plant is capable of generating what is effectively a hot water outlet by a marker buoy, which is what I referred to earlier, that we use to test people's vision. And that marker buoy also is an area where we've noticed the dolphins like to congregate, possibly because it's hot water, possibly because it attracts other food resources, and they also seem to use it as a navigation reference. But we also have to consider that the dolphins are here because they've been forced away from where they used to be, and perhaps Moray Firth as an example, that just there wasn't the food supplies to support their expanding population. And there's always this question of observer bias. Are we just